What's cracking, y'all? Welcome to Eddie and Mike. It's me, Mike. I'm here with my guy.
Eddie P. Hello.
And sorry again for the wait. Again, we'll become more consistent eventually. But for now, you get what you get and don't throw a fit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was a long week for me personally. I went to Ohio. I went to Canton, Ohio for my nephew's All-Star tournament. We also visited the Hall of Fame while we were out there. Wonderful experience. I don't know if y'all saw, I posted a video of the Super Bowl trophy, Vince Lombardi trophy. And they told me that it was the current trophy that's up for grabs right now. And it was just a wonderful experience. And my nephew, I felt like he did well. He personally doesn't feel like that, but he's a bit hard on himself, and it's okay. We all are. But he did okay. And he's going to high school. He should have a good career, I feel like. And yeah, it's up to him, though, to see how far he wants to go with it. And I'm going to help him as long as I can. I mean, not long as I can, but I'm going to help him along the way. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, and work, of course, work and life and everything else. But
like
we're
Riri.
finally here to do your show. And again, what's up to my guy, Eddie? Anything you want to say, get off your chest before we jump into the first topic of the day.
First of all, fuck cancer. If I see him, he's going to die tonight. Put 2 in his chest. Anyway, I just want to start the show off extending condolences, thoughts, prayers, everything to the people of Texas, all those that are suffering in the flooding. It's just an absolute horrible thing to have to go through. I don't know anybody in that area. I do have children, and I think that's really where a lot of this goes into, because I believe it was a summer camp that was affected.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was a Boy Scout. We went to like this camp thing for like a week, and I wasn't big on it. I was also really young and not as big on the outdoors as maybe I would be now. Anywho, you see these videos, or at least I used to when I was a kid, or more so movies, where they kind of like really hype up like the fun experience of summer camp and all that. And they were small kids, and there's a lot there. I'm not gonna like turn this political or anything like that. I just want to extend condolences and just kind of more hit on the whole, like, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So count your blessings and just be thankful for what you got. Because there's some people who they don't got their kids anymore, and it is just one of the shittier parts of life. But I do want to kind of turn a little positive. We all know who Jake Paul is. If you remember one of his early fights when he fought a UFC fighter who wasn't a striker and wasn't elite and was retired, Ben Askren, he contracted, I guess that's the right word. He got pneumonia, like a really bad, severe case of pneumonia, to where he was hospitalized. He needed, I believe, a double lung transplant because things had gotten so bad. He was on a ventilator. And he got the surgery. He's doing well, as far as I know. But the positive part about all this, not just that he's doing well, but apparently he had some issues with insurance wanting to pay for it, because this is such a like expensive and like, so serious type of surgery. But then that's what the insurance is there for. Well, there's not an exact number yet. And we'll see. But on the surface, Jake Paul made a video kind of talking about what I just said, and he plans to donate. I don't know if he's covering all the cost, but he plans to be donating something. I feel like, as much as I hate on that guy, you got to give him some credit there. Like, it's a kind thing to do. Ben Askren doesn't really owe Jake Paul anything. Or, I mean, other way around, whatever. But the fact that he's doing it, I just think it's positive. I think it's a kind thing to do. So tip of the cap to him. And also, I don't know your cousin's name, but shout out to him and lots of luck with the season going forward.
Oh, my nephew?
Your nephew, excuse me.
Oh, that's my nephew, Trey.
Lots of luck to you, Trey. Just, keep showing up. It's one of the easiest and toughest things to do. Just keep showing up.
Nah, real talk. That's half the battle getting here. It's real tough, especially.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to keep showing up. Nothing fancy.
Oof. All right. That's a nice transition to our next topic. The Nationals. I ain't gonna lie. I was kind of surprised with the news that happened last week. Not the Davey Martinez firing.
Yeah.
I think that since the World Series ended, it just hasn't been good for my Nets. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's
but it's the Rizzo firing on top of that, and you're more plugged in with that. But yes, definitely, it has happened. Nationals have fired their manager, Davey Martinez, and general manager Mike Rizzo, and interim general manager Mike DeBartolo. DeBartolo? That's a lot. I'm pretty sure you can say that differently. My apologies. He's going to run the team on the front office, and interim manager Miguel Carrillo. He's running the show now on the field. And my brother, you are more plugged in. You're actually watching the Nats right now. So what the heck is going on? Because in the beginning of the year, it just seemed like the team was, I don't know, they seemed like they were going to outperform our expectations. And then next thing you know,
yeah. I mean, no joke. COVID sucked, and that COVID year was kind of supposed to be the Nats like sort of defending the World Series. And I'm not saying like, hey, look, if COVID didn't happen, it was gonna be different because Zimmerman was gonna play and this and that. No, nothing of the sort. Nats were off to, like so seasons after the fact, but then it just seemed to take a hard left. There's a lot going on there, but real quick, Mike, I want to figure out how to word this as quickly as possible. When you were talking about like what the heck's going on, there's an old NFL clip of what's my man's name? Lombardi
Hank
on the
Stram.
field. Say
Nah,
what?
it was Hank Stram. The
No,
Chiefs coach.
That's George Lombardi when he says, "What the hell's going on out there?"
Are you sure? I thought it was Hank Stram in Super Bowl II.
No, not at all. That's Hank Stram kind of talks like this, like, yeah, see, like, yeah, we're gonna get him going. Yeah. Like he kind of like he was some sort of like Dick Tracy mobster. But anyway, when you said what the heck is going on out there, I thought specifically about this topic, just with everything I'm about to unload, as far as information and whatnot. I thought that would be such an appropriate, like, on shows or people who do TikToks or, short videos on the internet and they do like a cutaway Family Guy style almost. I felt like that would be such an appropriate thing to put right here. So the hard left, we can't seem to keep anybody. I mean, this is literally like a chicken, an egg, and then I guess the frying pan, since that's what the egg goes into. I don't know. Davey Martinez couldn't keep his job because he kind of was a rah-rah guy. He was a hold people accountable guy. You run out whether it's a easy out, you still run it hard to first, those kind of things. He wasn't, I don't know that baseball has X's and O's, but he wasn't that kind of guy so much. As much as strategy.
Analytics, I think, are their X's
Sure. But what I'm getting at is he was more of a like, hold everybody accountable. Hey, finish the fight, like delivering those messages, those speeches. The message got a little stale. That part's understandable. But at the same time, that hard left occurred because as much as we had talent here, all of those guys that had earned big time contracts were not giving it to them or were flat out disrespected with the deals they were given because the learners are so cheap. And it really kind of started once Ted died. Because if you remember, at least some of the older guys like Zimmerman, they would get paid. And we gave that insane deal to Max, who, by the way, we still are going to be giving 15 mil annually until 2028. But that deal was worth it. I still say that was worth every penny because he performed, like, especially those first few seasons, he was lights out and then helped us win a World Series. And it was him, Strasburg, and Corbin starting one night and then coming in for relief another night. Anywho, as the talent around on the team grew, we have Turner, Rendon, Harper before he left. Then you got Soto, Zimmerman. You had a team, everybody who was good but equally good in their area, and one by one they all left because we didn't want to pay them. Soto wanted to stay, and yeah, we got some good talent in return. But the problem is we're a big market. If we're gonna be like a Cincinnati or one of these other clubs that's a smaller market, then we have to be extremely good at developing. And we're not quite there. Yeah, sure. I'm watching the game now. You got CJ Abrams, you got James Wood, Mackenzie Gore isn't playing tonight, but you got those three guys that you got in the Juan Soto deal. We got good return. I hate to see Soto go, but we got good return. But as a whole, Rizzo, his deals weren't always like the guys he picked, it wasn't always great. But I equally don't blame Rizzo because his hands were tied all the time. Because even when Ted was alive, it was mostly pitchers he wanted to pay. Excuse me. Now, I can't remember the son's name because I think there's a few family members, but the one son is sort of like the face of the rest of the kids that are all running.
Could be a junior, but I'm not sure. Let me check that.
You might be right. I thought Christopher keeps coming up, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Anywho, I believe it's this one particular child of Ted Lerner is the one that's like the face of it, but like collectively, him and all his siblings, like they kind of figure this out together. I don't know. Either way, Bill Parcells famously said, if you want me to cook dinner, you got to at least let me buy the groceries. And that wasn't happening. Rizzo was an absolute true. What's up?
Mark.
Yeah, I was way off. Shout out to Lloyd Christmas. Anyway, you can't, like, his hands are tied. Rizzo, I mean, he was a trooper, would go out in front of the media and say, oh, no, I have control. I get final say and blah, blah, blah. And you just know it wasn't true. You just know it. Especially these last few years when you see the free agents we're bringing in. I mean, it almost reminds me of Major League when they cut to the field crew who are speaking in an Asian language. Forgive me for not knowing which one. And they say, oh, we're shitty again. Like it's that kind of thing. So there's that. It also is troubling, not just because if you see the direction we're going in, but then like we did this, the Major League Baseball draft, I think is sometime this upcoming week or next week. It might be tomorrow. I know when they fired him, it was within a few weeks of the draft, and we have the number one pick. I don't know who the consensus. I've heard that I think Matt Holliday, he has one son that plays for the Orioles, Jackson Holliday, and then I think there's another son who is one of the two or three that could go number one. I don't know what position or anything like that. I only know it because child of a former pro baseball player. And I only know that because I heard it on the radio by, one of these quote unquote experts. No disrespect to them, but just saying, so the whole thing is troubling because, as I said, with the chicken, the egg, and the pan, it's like, well, who can be successful in this kind of situation? It just the whole thing extremely troubling. I will end it with, I believe it's DeBartolo, and the only reason I'm guessing that is because that was the name of the former owner of the San Francisco 49ers, and I believe his name was Eddie DeBartolo. He was the guy running the team like in the 80s and 90s.
I'm sorry. It just felt like I was saying too many syllables when I was trying to pronounce his name.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. But yeah, we're going to be crappy for a long time unless they sell the team. It's eerily, aside from the off the field kind of stuff, this it's almost like we're heading in the direction of the team formerly known as before they became the Commanders with Snyder, because you had a team that was prominent under Jack Kent Cook. Granted, Nats only have the one World Series, but you won a World Series within the first 20 years of your team's existence. That's kind of a big deal, in my opinion. I understand like new franchises tend to get like a little bit of, help here and there as far as draft picks or like, what do they call that? The expansion draft thing where you can pick players from other teams that are eligible.
Yeah. The amateur draft is Sunday the 13th.
Gotcha.
We record this on Friday night. Real quick, wrapping up on the Nats talk. Like you said, it's going to suck for a minute. We kind of knew that before this season, and after seeing what's
Yep.
been happening this season, it's like, oh shoot, well, we were turning the corner, but nah, it's still on level 0 right now. But real quick, there's this chart that's been going around, or this graph, I'm sorry, that's been going around since the firing of Mike Rizzo, and it's the WAR stats for draft picks since 2012. And I'm not going to sit here and explain what the WAR is. It's a stat that tells you how valuable a certain player is.
Wins above replacement.
Yeah, wins above replacement. For a while, Mike Rizzo was the king of the WAR. Like all time, his WAR stat was crazy. I believe Otani may have taken that title away from him, just based on what I know about the stat. I haven't looked at it in years, but I'm pretty sure Otani is up there now. And but anyway, the Nationals are ranked dead last in this stat with a WAR of 4.3. And just for comparison's sake, the Orioles, they're second. Their WAR is 102.7. The Astros are running away at the first spot with 103.4. I mean, I'm sorry, 134.9. And yeah, so when I look at this stat, I'm like, that sucks that the Nationals are that low. But I thought about it, and I'm like, that's only telling half the story, though. And I told this to someone in the Facebook group. I said the Mariners they're a really rich family, but they did not spend much money on the Nats. That's why they keep losing all their stars. Then the head of the family died, and they really stopped spending money on them. They're clearing house, hopefully in efforts to sell the team. And then I posted the stats of the NL East standings from 2012 to 2019. The Nationals have 56.3 win percentage during that time. The team behind them are the Braves at 51%. Then you got the Mets at 49, the Phillies at 45, and the Marlins at 42. So it wasn't like the Nationals weren't having success since 2012. It just really, really reinforced the fact that they were not able to keep their talent.
Yeah.
And the reason the WAR, in my opinion, the reason the WAR is so low isn't because they weren't picking good players. It's because the players they were picking were leaving and they weren't able to contribute to that WAR number anymore. And yeah, it just
look at every
like
time
I
we play the
said,
Phillies. We
it's
played
like
Bryce,
playing
Trey
Nationals.
Turner, and Kyle Schwarber. I know Schwarber was more of a Cub than a Nat. He wasn't here for very long, but still, it's just one more guy that went there. And as I mentioned, we're still paying Max Scherzer. It just like I don't know who's going to succeed. And then furthermore, I've said this before. This is applied to all of sports. We're in such an impatient, win now, microwave society. Like everything has to be instant. Everybody wants like their GM to be some sort of like Bill Polian, Scott Presti, someone like that, or Sam Presti. Apologies. They want him to be someone like that. And it's like, well, there's only one of each of those guys. Like there's not, and those are different sports that I mentioned anyway. Right. And then they want the coach to be like Belichick or someone else. Like, yeah, we all want that. But at some point, there needs to be some like level of reasonableness. You need to be reasonable. And I just don't know who's going to come in and be able to succeed under these circumstances when they have to make like gourmet dinner out of minute rice or, out of Spam or something. No disrespect to those meals. It just, yeah, it's wild. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go down a rabbit hole of repeating the same stuff and getting all worked up. So it just
And
sucks.
shout out, I think it was my man Disco on Twitter. It's spelled weird, like DISQUOE or something. I don't know.
Oh,
But
it's
anyway,
just spelling it different.
yeah. But anyway, he had a post about James Woods and Jr. I'm sorry, James Wood Jr. And he was saying how he's excited for him and he's happy for him, but he just can't invest in him. because he done seen so many of our stars get
Yeah.
successful and then bounce. And I can't argue with the Bama. Like, think about it. Everybody except for Zimmerman, it feels like they got successful and bounced.
Yeah.
2019 team, half of the damn team was gone after the World Series.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't get to
We
run
did
it
a
back.
we did
Then,
a
like you
podcast
said,
about James
COVID happened. Yeah. So
about him leaving and everything.
it's
Did a whole
just
segment.
like I said, it's nuts that we were even able to get a World Series out of um, the Rizzo regime, and I just look forward to the future, man. But right now, it is not good.
Yeah,
But
and this overshadows our all-stars. Mackenzie Gore and James Wood made the all-star team. But
yeah, we
there's
ain't
no
even
talk
talking
of that.
about that.
There's no talk of
Um,
that. It's just about this.
Hopefully, Wood can give us a show in the home run
Mhm.
derby. I
Yep.
believe he participated in the season, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, speaking of things to look forward to, I would say after this Gold Cup run, I'm looking forward to seeing my country in the FIFA World Cup next year. Is it next year? Yeah, 26, I believe.
Next summer.
Next year. Next
It's
year
gonna
for the
be
World.
interesting because you're gonna have Canada, USA, and then Mexico.
Yeah, automatic
Essentially
qualifiers.
well, yeah, but it's the Americas is what's hosting the World Cup. So it's not just America, not just Canada. That's what's gonna be I don't
Yeah,
know if
North America.
all the
That's what
flying.
I said. Yeah. No, they are automatic qualifiers. All three
Oh,
of
well,
them.
yeah, for sure. No, all I was saying is that it'll be interesting because it's the first time that an area has hosted the World Cup. Usually, I mean,
I
don't get me
see.
wrong, like yes, but usually it's Brazil, Russia, South Africa. Like it's one place. Does that make sense?
Now, I hear what you're saying, but it's so funny. The rest of the world or the other six continents, they're like the countries. They're how can I say it? They're able to host more stuff because they have more space. They're not like trying to squeeze everybody
Mhm.
into the smallest places
Yep.
possible. So you can host it in Qatar and you can host it in that one country and
Oh, for
have
sure.
different sites over the country. But you can't do that in America, Canada, and Mexico because the countries are so damn full. So I know that really doesn't matter. I just wanted to throw that out there, especially with the topic we're talking about.
Well, I think some of it had to do with attaining, like getting the World Cup, because that's same as like the Olympics. Some of these things can be very, very good for your, excuse me, very, very good for your economy. And I think maybe pairing with what you said, saying, hey, this might be better for all of us if we have a few games in Canada, a few games in America, a few games in Mexico, and we kind of, you know, do like a little trifecta team up here, then that makes it, maybe like I don't want to say more desirable, but like a little bit more like, oh, maybe we should check them out instead of giving it to I don't know what the other contending countries were. Um, but as far as on the field play, it's exciting. I mean, the World Cup is just such a huge deal. Most watched sporting event, I'd say. I mean, there's certainly events in America, but this is going to be watched worldwide, like a lot of soccer tends to be, depending on who you root for, leagues, etc. Um, I don't know. Certain levels of optimism with Team USA. Um, it's just it. I'm not sure how this is going to work because again that impatience I mentioned as it pertains specifically to Mike Rizzo, but to American sports in general, we have a new head coach again, Pochettino. I don't know my guy's first name. Forget it for some reason. I believe he's from Argentina. Has a good amount of coaching under his belt. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he used to coach Tottenham Hotspurs, amongst a few other teams. But he is the latest guy tasked with turning us around. If you remember, we sort of had a little bit of an ascension there in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then I don't know what happened. You have Alexi Lawless calling out saying these are just a bunch of overpaid guys with tattoos that are entitled. And there does seem to be some of that, but soccer is such a unique animal because there's not a lot of other sports, especially like you take American football. There's not a lot of other sports where you have your regular season and then all of these different cups that your team might be playing in, which go parallel to your season. The European Cup for a lot of teams, that's sort of kind of almost like a March Madness paired with a Super Bowl because they're pros. So you have all of that. And then, if you're not too beat up from that and in good enough shape, well, I mean, most of these guys are in good enough shape, but you know what I mean, like injury and health wise. Anyway, and if you're still okay after all of that, then comes international play. So I get that. But the one that got me is, before this Gold Cup started, you had Christian Pulisic, who it's evident when he's on the field that he cares. He plays tough. He's sort of our it guy, our Dempsey or Landon Donovan, because, those were the guys that were marketable, recognizable, etc. They were the guys scoring the goals and sort of leading the team. But, he's talking about he wants to rest and he's worn out. But then he's playing for AC Milan, the club team he plays for in Italy, and they didn't really have anything to play for. And he's playing the last several games of the season, pretty much playing the whole game. There's another gentleman. This one's a little different because as we were talking before the show started about how people can be private or be open about certain things, I believe the guy's name is Musa. I think that's how you say the last name. The first name seems tough to – it's like something with a Y. This gentleman was away from the team for personal reasons. So it could have been family related, loss of a family member, something of that nature. So that one, there's a little more reserve criticism because you just don't know. I mean, it could be something that makes sense. Another guy – I believe his name is Anthony Robinson. Similar thing to Pulisic, except in this case, he's claiming his knee is really bothering him, but he's playing in a meaningless game for, I think, Fulham, I think. Played like 70 minutes in that game.
Listen, you get cut off my team for doing some Bama stuff like that, but I digress.
Here's where I understand. These guys are playing in AC Milan's a big club. We have a lot of guys, and we have for a while, actually, a lot of different guys that have played for Team USA that play in various teams overseas that are actually big name teams. They actually make decent coin. They don't necessarily make as much playing for the national team. They make some. So that might come into play some as well. But when you have that number of guys and they're that caliber that are missing, Serginho Dest is recovering from injury, so that one's understandable. But when you have several of those guys saying things like that, and it's like, yeah, I'm hurt or I'm completely worn out. Because let's face it, you do a lot of running in soccer, so I get that too. But when you're like, hey, I can't, that's kind of tough. Now, Weston McKennie, I don't know how to approach that one because that's a contract thing. He plays for Juventus. Juventus was playing in the FIFA Club World Cup, which was also being played in America. They were having most of the games were like MetLife or like over there in New Jersey or North Carolina, places like that were where the games were. It was an awesome tournament. I believe the final, I think, is coming up in like a week or so. Anywho, Weston McKennie played for Juventus. He was contractually obligated to play in that game for Juventus rather than play for Team USA. I don't think he was allowed to opt out of that. I don't know how that works. Maybe he was. I don't know about that one. But other guys I mentioned, it gets to a point where it's like, hey, look, this is a big deal. And I know you make a lot of money doing this and stuff. But, in some ways, and I kind of don't like this saying, but there is, certainly truth to it. But perception can be reality. You see these guys that are really good, and it's like, why don't they want to play? And especially, we were in the final. We're playing Mexico. It's the rival. It's a big deal. You got a new head coach who kind of has a little bit of a pedigree. And, you could argue that with like Klinsmann. and some other guys that have come through as coaches. But you got to really give it a chance. You can't like go in already thinking, and I don't know. I don't know that any of this has to do with whether or not they like the head coach or any kind of conversations they've already had that maybe it rubbed them the wrong way. I don't know. But I know that similar to what I was talking about with the Commanders with training camp, it's like, look, you got new guys, coaching, etc. There's, always going to be new guys coming up on the team because soccer is one of those sports where, especially the talent, you get some of these guys when they're really, really young. So there's only a short window with these World Cups and other, Olympics. They only happen so often. So with that tight window and everything, and then all these other, new parts, these other variables, like he just bummed me out. They weren't there. And despite that, we still did pretty good. Now, let's understand Gold Cup it's CONCACAF. So that typically means like the Americas, South America, but mostly we're not Brazil and Argentina. We're talking like Panama, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, those kind of teams.
So no, I'll like I said, I'm excited. They're progressing. I just feel like in my lifetime, I don't think I'll ever see us win a World Cup. We got a lot of catching up to do, and it's just not going to happen. Maybe we'll get lucky one day, and I mean, not to be political or nothing, but with the way the immigrants have been attacked in this country now, I don't know. It might take a step back in soccer now.
It might.
So I'm just keeping it a buck. Like that's what's probably going to happen. But transitioning to the next topic, bro. Drums or flats?
Flats. I mean, I know there's an extra bone in there, so now you have like more to work around, but flats are where it's at. It's so much easier. Again, I know that second bone kind of makes it like a little bit more challenging, but you just kind of get the spin kind of technique going there, right? Then with your thumbs, push the rest of it out. Boom, done. I don't do the slam. I don't know if you seen that where you just pull a little bit of the skin on one end and then you're supposed to slam it down and all of the skin and the meat comes down to one end and you just kind of can get it all in one bite. I
I
don't do it.
know. So I don't know if you remember back in the day on Comcast Sportsnet, they used to have this show called Monday Night Live that they used to have before the Monday Night Football games on
No.
ESPN. But yeah, it was a local pregame show. They used to do it from a restaurant or whatever. But anyway, they used to have some player segments sometimes, and players would come through and, after a win or whatever and talk about the game, or they'll joke around with them. It was hosted by Chick Hernandez and Brian Mitchell was on it, Doc Walker, I think, was on it, and a couple other people. But anyway, I say all that to say, one episode, Randy Thomas, our old offensive guard, he took a flat, he put it in his mouth, and he poured it off, and all the chicken was gone. And before then, I ain't banged with flats like that. I was like a drum dude or whatever. But when I saw how he ate the flat, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I tried it, and I'm like, oh shit. I never was able to get it as clean as he did, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
No,
So
flats where it's at, man. You
I
you
don't,
can't go wrong with a
I
flat.
don't care. I honestly don't care. Sometimes I like a drum better. Sometimes I like a flat. But why are we talking about wings?
You know why.
Why are we talking about wings? The Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards, they have a lot of wings on their roster. I tweeted out a picture a couple of weeks ago, last week, I guess, and I was like, the current Washington Wizards roster, and there was a picture of a DC staple, I feel like, at this point. Wings and more wings on the corner of 19th and Benner Road. Shout out to Blue Pierce, my old elementary school. I mean, middle school. I'm sorry. It was right across the street from there. And yeah, that's what the Wizards roster reminded me of because they have so many wing players. They had a lot before the draft started. They drafted 3 in the draft. They just traded for a 4th one at Cam Whitmore. And like I said, they had plenty before the draft. Koulibaly, Carrington, George. They have a point guard, AJ Thomas, who's a point guard. I'm not saying a point guard, a wing player. They drafted Trey Johnson, a wing player. I can't remember his name from Illinois, the second first round pick. I can't remember his name. My apologies. Wing player. They drafted Jameer Watkins from Florida State, wing player. And as I mentioned, they traded for Cam Whitmore. The good news is they did sign Marvin Bagley yesterday. That was cool. So they do have some strong front court presence. I feel like with Sarr and Bagley the third. Can you do better? Of course, but it's much better than what they had before they signed Bagley. And yeah, like it's the roster looks better, but I'm looking at the summer league game score right now, and even though they have most of their current roster, which is rare for a summer league roster, they were still losing by double digits to the Suns. So it looks like they still have a lot of work to do, bro. But I'm excited, and you'll definitely hear me more talking about the Wizards over the next few years because I feel like they are turning that corner. The last 2 seasons have been tough, but this season probably is going to be tough too because they can't do too good because if they do, they're going to lose their first round pick. So I expect them to be a top 10 bottom team again this season. But starting in 2026, 27, they might start flirting with the play-in appearance. And that's good because I like basketball. I like watching it. And it sucks when you enter a season knowing that your team is purposely trying to be bad, the baddest they can be. And that's not a hyperbole or a metaphor. They really are trying to suck. And that's just life for you. Like when you talk about patience, some teams and franchises, they don't have the option but to be patient. Yeah. And that's what we've been for the last 2 years and probably the next year with the Washington Wizards. And it's okay. Like, if you got to destroy it to build it back from the bottom up, because look, Ernie Grunfeld destroyed this franchise, man. And I had a front row seat for it for 20 or 16, 17 years or whatever. And he was trash. Excuse my French, he was ass. Like, just straight cheeks. And I had to watch my team. They did get lucky every now and then with Arenas and John Wall. But for the most part, the man just destroyed the franchise. Whatever y'all think Snyder did to the Redskins, Grunfeld was just as bad to the Wizards. Like, real talk. But anyway, he's gone. Will Dawkins is in charge. And I am optimistic, even though it's going to be another long 12 months. And
it will certainly be a developmental type of season with Middleton and what's my man's name? Oklahoma State played for the Celtics and then the Grizzlies. Marcus Smart. Yeah, those 2 guys are vets, and you got to think that with the 2 of them, and then I'm trying to think on my top of my head. Those 2 guys will kind of be showing some of these, like the kid they drafted from Texas, Bub Carrington. They're kind of going to be showing these guys how to be, like, how to be a pro, things like that. So I think that's what we're going to look for is development. Hopefully see a lot more flourish, a little more, like a flower opening up in Koulibaly now that Jordan Poole's gone. So you got to figure he'll get more shots. I think it's just going to be one of those things where you're going to kind of find the silver lining and the small victories and the fact that, If Sar can gain a little weight, get a little bit more physical, get a little bit more comfortable to the physicality of what we would need him to do at his position with his size. And some of these guys develop, see what happens with the Keyshawn George. I think that guy was kind of like sneaky good. I'm not saying like you watch him play and you don't think he's good, but he did some things where if he can do those things consistently, whether it's shooting the three, running the floor, the fact that, with his size and wingspan, he offers a certain level of versatility, playing D on one end and being contributing on offense, contribution, whatever. I'm struggling with words today. Yeah, but I think that's another guy kind of in that Koulibaly thing now with Jordan Poole gone. See what we can get out of him. So yeah, I'm always gonna have like some level of optimism, but yeah, I mean certainly we're not winning anything next year. Just hopefully. I kind of honestly though, I just don't want us to like suck. Like if we play tough, but because other teams have better talent and we're still learning and things like that, understandable. But some of those embarrassing losses we had last year, we gotta, pardon me, we gotta clean that up. Gotta tighten up, Mo.
Like I said, it's going to be a long season next year, but it's going to be cool. All right, and last topic of the show. Usually we'll start off with something like this first, but the way things unfolded, we saving this for last. The Commanders. You thought we were going to go an episode without talking about them? You're lunching.
Wrong, pal.
So the big news so far, and unfortunately it's not the extension of Terry McLaurin. That's still ongoing. I still expect something to happen before training camp, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not concerned. They unveiled their new Super Bowl era jerseys. A fresh look, a classic vibe meant to connect the past to the future. I personally like the jerseys. I think it's a very nice hat tip to the old past. And I ain't gonna lie, bro, it made me realize just how much I miss those freaking jerseys, young. Do I want the logo on the side of the helmet back? Yeah, but I don't mind the Commander W. I really don't. I have no issues with it. And I like the fact that they put the stripe back on the pants. I like the fact that we got the triple pinstripe on the helmet again. The gold face mask, love that. Especially, I feel like somebody got to do the Sean Taylor white tape on the face mask if they allow it. They may not allow it anymore. That's why we don't see it as much. But yeah, it's a great jersey. It looks different for most of the 31 teams in the NFL. And I feel like that's always been the best part of the Redskins jersey / Commanders jersey is the fact that it stands out. My man Chris from Vegas, he was like, the colors, they're burgundy and gold, they're this and they're that. And I'm like, bruh, there's no team in the NFL that has a color scheme even close to ours. Maybe except for the Chiefs. But it's an obvious difference between their red and our burgundy. The same with the 49ers. There's an obvious difference between their gold and our gold. Like I said, the color contrast is really amazing. It's a unique combination, and the fact that they went back to the darker burgundy, it does seem like they. I'll say this before I pass it back to you, bro. The white Commanders jerseys, the ones that look like the Falcons or the Cardinals jersey, the burgundy on those jerseys, it was the same burgundy as the burgundy on the new jerseys. The difference is the gradient of the jerseys. Those small little black diamonds that they put in the numbers and on the sleeves of the jerseys or whatever, that matters. Like even if the color is the same, that gradient is going to affect how it looks to us. how it comes through our eyes. So even though the burgundy was the same, they made it look different. So it did look different and it felt different. And they did as best as they could. Like when I was watching the playoff games, I wasn't thinking about the white jerseys and how the burgundy wasn't the same burgundy. I was just happy seeing my team in the playoffs. But starting next year in 26, these could become normal jerseys. And if that were to happen, it'll be sweet. And yeah.
Yeah, so I did not lots of detail there, Mike. Looking
Which
at
part?
talking about the jersey color and the different. I mean, man, you're
Oh,
like a walking. What do they call them things? You go to like the paint store and it's like a little binder. It's just all a spatch something. There's some kind
is
of
it
word,
like
and it's
what's it
like
called, a swatch
different colors, something like that. Either way,
palette or something like that? I
something.
don't know.
You that was you right there talking about the different levels of burgundy and diamonds in the chest and all that. Man, shout out to Mike. I dig them. I dig them. I really do. I will say this, and I know exactly why they won't
It's
do
a
it
swatch,
because you.
bro. I thought it was called a swatch.
There we
Shout
go.
out to my wife for the information.
I should know it. My brother's a painter, but anyway, I would have loved to have had them do those jerseys that they used to wear. I believe during the Spurrier era. It's
Oh yeah, you talking about the 70th anniversary jerseys?
Yep, with the arrow on the side, but they don't
Yeah,
want
I love
anything
that jersey.
connecting to Native American and things of that nature. So I get it. But yeah, I dig the jerseys. I really do. I was a little worried when they were saying, "Hey, we're going to unveil a fourth jersey." I was like, "Man, please don't make it like an all gold or something. Something kind of whack, like on that Color Rush kind of stuff, or like if they were going to do like two-tone burgundy to where like the number and the jersey were the same. Stuff that just wouldn't make sense to me. Anywho, I dig it. I do. I'm psyched. Um, there's a lot to be excited about with this team, and I think they're doing the best they can. Because I talked to a guy on July 4th, diehard, and he still calls them the Redskins. And I say that not to like intentionally use the word whatever. I get it. The name's not coming back. He hates that they folded because he's saying that the guy who created the design on the helmet, him and his tribe didn't want the name changed, and all those things that went along with things that we talked about at nauseum on this podcast during the whole name thing when they were just the football team and before they became the Commanders. Anywho, this is them trying to bridge the gap on some level. They're trying to like, hey, check out these jerseys. We're gonna wear these jerseys. Remember the good old days when we wore these jerseys and we won a Super Bowl wearing them? Like that's kind of what they're doing. I like it. Some people don't. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I hate to be cynical, but a lot of those older fans from the good old time, from the good old days, they're only going to be with us for so long. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be honored in some way or appreciated as fans, but you know, it, I guess it's like that Bob Dylan song, times they are a changing. I don't know. But I dig the jerseys. I do. I like it. Um, Probably definitely going to need to get a J5. Um, yeah, I already got one of his. I don't know who I'd want my next one to be if I didn't do him. I got
Well,
Terry is the burgundy. What do you think? Go Frankie Louvu. Nice number
nah,
4.
he not locked in enough yet.
Okay. I just love the
You gotta
energy.
go with a vet, or you gotta go with somebody like Daniels or Mikey, somebody that looks like they're gonna be here for a minute.
Hmm.
Luvu, I don't know. You play for other teams, and I don't
Well,
know. But listen, bro, if you are interested in buying one of those jerseys, you're going to be waiting a long time. They're back ordered until November,
whew.
and yeah. So you might not even get them before the first game of the first game they wear those jerseys. And we haven't mentioned that they're only wearing them 3 times this year. The 2 Sunday night games versus the Seahawks and the Broncos, And Christmas, we all get an early Christmas present, seeing our team and their former threads play the Cowboys, and hopefully they smash them, and we can call them ho ho hos.
Yeah.
As
Because that's what Christmas is really all about, is getting to call Dallas Cowboys.
we better not beat them. I'm calling them some ho ho hos.
Garden tools.
Be like the Cowboys, some straight up ho ho hos.
Yep. Let's wear it.
Speaking of hoes, ESPN, they ranked us.
Wow.
They ranked us 28th. They ranked the Commanders secondary unit 28th out of
not Eddie and Mike, the Commanders
32 in the NFL. I'm gonna just say this, bro, real quick. I understand why they ranked us so low. It's a lot of unknowns with the secondary right now. But I'll take Trey Amos, Mikey Sainristil, and I was about to say Kenny Lattimore, Marshawn Lattimore. I'll take those three over most trios in the NFL right now, especially if you're telling me Lattimore is going to be healthy. I'll also take Quan Martin and Will Jones over most of the safety secondaries, safety duos in NFL. And I'm definitely taking Joe Witt and Dan Quinn over most, if not all, of the defensive coaches when it comes to coaching secondary. Why? Because they've been proven. And even with the trash that they had to work with last year, I feel like they were able to, they swim. 28th, I think that's extremely low. And throughout the season, we're going to be proven, well, I'm going to be proven right that ESPN got this wrong, young. Like I understand why they ranked them 28th. There's a lot of unknown, but if you know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of a lot of similarities to you. I get why they were ranked the way they were. Our defense as a whole they were hit or miss. Really started to get it together on that playoff run, obviously, made plays here and there. I certainly am big on Cam Martin, looking for a big next step from Mikey Sainristil. I'm hoping that Lattimore will rise to a lot of the pressure that's on him, because while they can just get out of the deal with not having to pay him as much and then just, start to build at that position, it'd be a real bummer to make that trade like we did, and then we didn't really get anything out of it. But nobody's gonna bat 1,000. So as good as Peters and company have done as far as like hitting on draft picks and free agents, you got to understand the dude is not gonna, like I said, he's not gonna bat 1,000. I am excited because I think you meant Will Harris, not Will Jones.
I combined both of their names. I combined Jonathan Jones and Will Harris.
Yep.
Sorry, y'all.
I think that one will be interesting. He's not as big as Jeremy Chin, but I'm hopeful he'll do better in coverage than Jeremy Chin did. There's a certain level of intrigue as it pertains to him, because much like the rest of the pick, I just mentioned how well Peters and company have done with draft picks and free agent signings they brought in and the way they contribute. So I'm actually kind of hopeful that there's something that the collective saw where they're like, hey, this guy will help keep it together on the back end. He'll help with coverage. And another thing, sort of, I think by now the handful of listeners we have, they kind of understand maybe just a little bit of how I think, where everything is connected on some level. So I think some of the other moves we made, bringing in a lot of big bodies to help stop the run, I think that'll affect the pass, because what's going to happen is teams have to go pass heavy. They're passing more now. We've brought in a Trey Amos who was supposed to go in the first round. Talented guy, got some size actually at DB. Most of the time you think DB, you think some smaller guys who are quick and can, keep up with people on the outside, even, close some gaps if they get faked out or get, lost in the sauce, so to speak. But I think the collective is what's going to be exciting about it. Sure, we could use maybe like a Hendricks or someone from an edge standpoint, but we're not going down that route as far as giving up all those picks or even giving up all that money for someone at that level. Sure, if it was Aaron Donald or someone like that, yeah, we'd probably break the bank for him because that's more of a sure thing. But again, bringing in those big bodies, Latimer has a chance to be healthy. You now kick Sandra still to the inside, playing the slot in areas where he's going to be more successful. Certainly looking for a big jump for him. And then just, again, overall, it's not just Peters. It's what we saw with what you mentioned with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt. They're all buying the groceries together and cooking together. And last year we saw what happened. They got a full another year. We made the moves for our offense to be better. I think we've equally done so on defense. So I don't know. I'm not about to say, hey, Super Bowl, here we come. We've made moves to try to hopefully like be in contention. No doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just it's more of a reflective of how last year was. That's the way a lot of these rankings go. That, and as you mentioned, the unknowns. So is what it is. I don't know if I'd call them some garden tools, but it's kind of also what they've always done to us. And there are other teams
they do
this all the time, whether it's Cleveland or, for a long time, Cincinnati, some of these other teams where it's just they expect you to be bad. So they're not going to really.
I say that tongue in cheek.
Secondary is terrible. Jaden Daniels great. That's probably what the article said.
Right. They show us love. I'm pretty sure they mentioned Quinn and Witt in the article. Like, they know what's up. They know that last year, the secondary, like, at this time last year, our three best cornerbacks were St. Juice, Forbes, and Michael Davis.
Yeah.
So to go from that to Amos, Lattimore, Sandra still, and then you got Jonathan Jones and Noah Igbinogi or Nagy, whatever. And yeah, like, I'm not, honestly, the fact that the weak part of our team is the defense kind of plays into our favor because that's the strong part of our coaching. And if you're going to tell me that the thing that I should worry most about is a Dan Quinn, Joe Witt coach defense, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that, real talk. And hopefully next episode we'll be talking about McLaurin extension. If not, pretty sure we'll find something Commander related to talk about for y'all. And yeah, go from there, bro. But our time is up. We ran out of topics. Ain't got nothing else for y'all this week. You got something else for him before we roll up out of here, though, bro?
Nah, man. I'm like tired as a mug.
You like tired as a mug.
Yep.
Yep. I am too, and I gotta be to work at 6. So let's get up out of here, and I'll holler at y'all Bamas later. Peace out.
Take it easy.